What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the converSAYtion podcast, where we turn converSAYtion into application. I am your host, Leon Reed Jones. And today we got a very special guest in the building. Man, I'm so excited about this one, even though it's going to be like me getting to know this guest, but this was like a plug my guy JG got me. So, man, I'm so honored to have you on the podcast. So typically I introduce the guest, but I'm going to switch it up today. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, man. We're going to get started.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the time, man. JG, actually, you made the connection, so I appreciate him, too. So salute to JG. Man, my name is Aaron Spencer, for the people that don't know me. For the people that do know me, born and raised Detroit, Michigan. Went to Wayne State, so everything's been local for me.
Yeah.
I came here to promote my new book called Imagine Dad. I just released it last month. So, but yeah, that's me.
Yes, sir, man. East side or west side?
East.
Okay, shout out, man. East siders in the building. We represent, man. We 3 for 3. Me, JG, Aaron.
Hey, that's what's up,
East
man.
side,
Yeah,
man.
we got to represent.
Yes, sir. So before we get into the book, something that I always ask my guests is, if somebody had to describe you, what would they say about you?
Shit, man. Nonchalant. Some people might call me a-hole, but that's just because I'm a direct individual.
For sure.
You know, I try to be direct, and I may not show the most empathy or sympathy to people necessarily. So that might be a part of that, just because of how I was raised necessarily, where we wasn't necessarily given the handout or a pat on the back, or maybe not the most nurturing environment not all the time. However, you know, I try to be given. So I think people would describe me as just like somebody that's humble, work a lot, you know, anything I actually put my mind to, I actually try to achieve and do.
Yeah.
It may not be like today or tomorrow, but eventually I'm gonna get it done. So I think people would just call me a go-getter.
For sure, man. I love that. It's crazy. This is the third time this week that somebody has said something about nonchalant. Now, granted, I don't think I'm a nonchalant person, but I've been going to orthopedic therapy for my pinky or whatever. And this girl was talking to me about like how, because I told her I was going out of town to be with my girl or whatever. And she was saying like how her fiance is nonchalant. And then she was describing basically how I am with my girl or whatever. Like, so it's crazy. Like I said, I don't think I'm nonchalant, but hearing you say that and then describing what you meant by that, it's like, man, I'm literally the same way. Cause like you said, you straightforward, you know, you're not sugarcoating nothing, and how you was raised and all that, man. But we're going to get into a little bit of that. You kind of sparked the question for me. But my second question that I've been asking my guests is, what would you title this chapter of your life?
Grind, really.
Okay.
And that's just because, like, now that I just released this book, I feel like I put myself back into a mode of just like someone that's hungry, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like somebody that's trying to get it. Mind you, I'm a senior data engineer by day, right? Mm-hmm. So I work with General Motors. That's my day-to-day job. I've been in IT for a little bit over 10 years. So almost going to 11 years. So in terms of like being able to say I kind of quote unquote made it, yeah, I'm able to say I've had some success in my life. I got my MBA, those things like that. However, with the release of the book, I feel like it kind of started me all over again in a sense, where it's like now you kind of starting at square one again. Now you got to go through the motions, you know, to really try to get the book off the ground.
Yeah.
So I feel like this part of my life is grind. You know, my lady, she's in school right now, so she's trying to wrap up and get that off the ground. And at the same time, like the book came out of, the motivation for the book was spurred by me looking at houses, right? So I was looking at cribs in Farmington Hills. So at the time, not anymore, but at the time, GM wanted me to go in 3 days a week. And I was doing that. And mind you, we was at the Warren Tech Center. So that's about 45 minutes from where I'm at, right? I'm in Dearborn. So with that being the case, it was like, man, you know what? It'd be a little more convenient for me if I moved a little closer. So I started looking at cribs, looking at school districts, making sure I did all my just homework in terms of just making sure I did the research to figure out where I was going to stay, right? So I narrowed it down, got to being like seeing in the Farmington Hills area where I wanted to stay. Mind you, the market's kind of messed up with inflation and everything like that over the past few years with COVID and everything. So I was like bidding up to 20, 30 grand over for every crib. Mind you, these are $350,000 houses. I'm bidding 20 grand over, 30 grand over here, and I'm still losing.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's crazy.
Right.
So I was actually at the time I was helping a friend of mine with her book company. She has 2 children's books out. Her name is Zendaya Cansey. For those that are watching, go check her out. She's pretty dope.
Sure.
But I was helping her out with some business stuff, right? So just tongue in cheek, she, talking one day, she was like, I'll help you out, write your own book, as part of conversation for me helping her.
Yeah.
So cool. I was like, all right, bet. I ain't thinking nothing of it at the time. So I would say maybe a month or 2 passed. I called her back one day like, yo, was you really serious about helping me write that book? She's like, yeah. I was like, bet, because this is, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get this crib. And this, I feel like it's just bringing more revenue, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, we talked for about an hour. Got the idea about like changing the narrative about fatherhood, things like that. And that's kind of how the story came about.
Yeah.
And found myself writing the book. So right now, I know I've been long-winded.
No,
but,
that's good stuff, man. No.
Man, yeah. So right now, I feel like I'm 32 years old. One time I hit 35, I kind of got goals in mind that I want to achieve. And this is one of those goals of being able to kind of put the book on the map, get it to the pinnacle where I want to see it and kind of go from there. And also, making more money. So
yeah, facts. I was just telling somebody, on that part about where you said more money. Like, it seems like now people are in the space like, yeah, like you said, you got your MBA, you work at General Motors. But you like, man, I got a passion for this right here. Like, this is what I got my degree in. But the Imagine Dad book is something that I've been sitting on, something that I really been trying to get out to the masses to, enlighten people and educate people on, how to be a better dad. So that's dope, man. Cause I think more people need to tap into like, yeah, this may be like what your degree is in, but this is your passion. This is what, God is calling you to. So that's pretty dope to hear, man. And so why the title Imagine Dad? What made you pick that title?
Oh, it's play on words. Imagine that. It was Imagine Dad. So because the concept was, what would you ideally want to see in a dad? Like if you had to imagine what a dad would look like, what would it be? Yeah. Right. So Imagine Dad. So it just kind of was a simple concept.
Yeah, man. And something that I really was, waiting to talk to you about after, seeing your book and just kind of chopping it up with you off camera or whatever was like, and going back to what you said about how people would describe you, not having the handouts, not, how you were raised, not being around, an environment or a village that was like basically not necessarily tough on you, but like when you as a grown man, now you in fatherhood, seeing things and like people think like, oh, you too hard on your child or you not as empathetic. So what was your upbringing like that formed the mindset that you have now?
Oh man, my upbringing was totally different from how I am as a dad in terms of like the nurturing that I try to give to my son. I'm not perfect in that. I don't think anybody is, but
sure.
For the most part, I say that. So my parents were split. They split up when I was 2 years old. And we saw my dad every other weekend. We was most part with my mom. My mom worked 2-3 jobs just to take care of 3 boys.
Yeah.
So, she was hustling and bustling and doing what she had to do to make sure that we ate and we had everything that we needed. Even though we didn't necessarily have a whole lot, she tried to make ends meet as best she could.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the environment I grew up in. Mind you, my dad ended up remarrying down the road, but actually I should say he met my stepmom shortly after him and my mom separated and whatnot. And she had 6 children. So I grew up where it was 9 of us, and then my little brother came when I was 10 years old. So altogether it's 10 of us.
Yeah.
So when I go to my dad's crib, we would be with all of us, and it'd be 3-4 beds, whatever the case may be. We all bunk bedding it or sleeping in the same bed, stuff like that. When I'm at home, my mom working 2-3 jobs, she gone, so we all taking care of ourselves. So I grew up as a latchkey kid. That was just the upbringing I had. So when it came to like fending for ourselves or doing things that we need, or just whatever the case may be, we just like I said before, fending for ourselves. We get out of school, we make sure everything was good. My brothers helped me out a whole lot. I mean, my 2 older brothers that I live with for the most part, and they try to make sure I was doing the right things or doing what I need to be doing for the most part, and they just make sure we were straight. Yeah. So now, as an adult, with my own son, he's 5 years old, I just try to be nurturing. I just try to be patient as I can be. I don't try to be overly passive, nothing like that. But he's only 5 years old, so it's not much I can do at this point. It's just more so just trying to make sure he's straight.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I was actually having a conversation with a lady today because I was telling her I was watching a podcast. And it was actually with one of my favorite podcasts, KG Certified. He was talking to Matt Barnes. And he was like, man, Matt Barnes asked him, like, KG, like, what do you think is the difference now with the kids? And really, he was talking about basketball, but he kind of shifted it to, like, even aside from basketball. Like, he was like, man, there used to be a time where you and me, Matt, as kids, you know, he used the, like, bike analogy. We could, you know, ride a bike and fall, and our parents be like, nah, you good. You know, get up, you all right. But now, some parents, they don't even want to have you riding the bike down the street. But he was like, that's how you learn, riding the bike up and down the street. And you was cool with everybody in the neighborhood. That's how you met different people. But now it's like we so guarded and, you know, shielding our kids. And it's like, oh, my son about to fall. Let me protect him. And there's nothing wrong with you protecting your kid. That's what you're supposed to do. But he was saying it in a way where it's like, now we've crippled our kids to, like, when they hear no, it's like crazy. Like, they so shocked because they've been given so much. But back then, like how you said, like, it wasn't never given anything or it was no handouts. You just talked about how you and your 10 siblings, you know, had to fend for each other and your brothers made sure you was straight. And it's like, for me, I don't have kids, but I, you know, aspire to have kids later on down the line or whatever. But, like, to me, I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. Like, it's scary. Like, I say this and I be joking with my friends, but it's like legit scary because it's like, even from like watching people parent, it's kind of like, man, like me saying this as a 25 going on 26-year-old man, like growing up, it's like I said with the bike thing, like you fall down, no, man, you good. You got a scrape on you. That was a part, like that was life.
Right.
And it's now like, man, no, we don't want him to fall. We don't want her to do this. So like you being a father and then comparing your experience as a child to now having your own, you know, seed or whatever, like how do you implement like your way of fatherhood? Because like you said, you try to be, you know, more patient. He's only 5 and all these things, but you have your way. So how do you kind of split up? Do you take things that you learned as a kid that were applied to your life? Like how do you differentiate like because the society we in now is totally different than you and I when we were smaller or when we were kids. So how do you manage with, you know, social media being a big thing? And, you know, even when we were kids, like we could be out all night hooping in the backyard.
Right.
It's not really any of that now. So how do you kind of differentiate your time versus the time now?
Well, luckily, I mean, he's not at the age where he's like on social media or I have to worry about those things at this particular point in time.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to being protective of him, I mean, I still kind of abide by some of the things that I grew up on in terms of like, if you fall down while he's trying to ride a bike, then it's like, man, come on, let's get up. Like, I think some of the things that how we grew up allows us to, you know, learn that it's going to be okay, right? It's not the end of the world because you fail, or it's not the end of the world because you got told no, right? You have to learn how to live with the no's, because when you get an adult or even as a teenager, you learn that, hey, I'm going to get told no, right? Yeah. That's going to happen. It's not a if and or but about it. It's going to happen. It's just when, right? So I think when it comes to being protective, it's, yes, you want to be protective to a certain extent, but also allow them to fall, right? Allow them to pick itself back up.
Exactly.
Learn from those mistakes. Learn from, you know, whatever experience that he is having at that particular point in time. I think the main thing for me as a parent today is allowing my son or giving my son the exposure and experiences that I didn't have, right? So I think all parents want to do that. Every parent that I know have always said that same thing. It's about giving your child the experience that you didn't have as a kid and making sure that they have everything that you didn't necessarily get. So I fall in that same boat, to be honest. I think that exposure and experience is the best teacher. And as he gets older, that's all I try to do is just give him more exposure and experience to different things. So as he gets older, he's like, oh yeah, I did that before. I did this before. I've been there before. Whatever the case may be, right? So whether that's flying on a plane, whether that's on a cruise, whether that's, it doesn't really matter. It's just wanting him to get, as much exposure as possible. So he knows that, I can tell the difference here. I know the difference here. I know how to handle myself in this environment. I know how to handle myself in this environment, whatever that may be. So that's all I try to do.
For sure. And you being a father yourself, like, what do you think are some things that are missing from a dad? Because again, I want to go back to the title, Imagine Dad. A big concept of it is how could you, it's almost like creating a player on 2K or like what would you think a dad is supposed to look like? And so back to the question, like, of what do you think some things from a father standpoint are missing in the home, or like that can be applied to help a young man not end up certain ways or to stay away from certain situations?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I think personally, it's just about being attentive.
Yeah.
And being involved in your kid's life. Like, being active and involved is very important for all kids, right? To see that their parent cares, to know that their parent is going to be there for them, supportive. I think those are the elements or characteristics necessarily. So I would say being supportive, being actively involved, showing them the attention, again, kind of all just boiling down to showing them the attention that they need at that particular point in time, because when they get older, they're going to remember dad was always at the game. Mm-hmm. Dad always made sure he came to parent teacher conferences. Yeah. Or dad was, always made sure he went to my, doctor's visits, whatever the case may be, to show them that, hey, someone cares about you.
Yeah.
I care about you. I want you to do good. I want you to do great. So when they do get older, you can have a little bit of influence on their life, right? Yeah. So, because I'm not sure about, your upbringing or whatever the case may be, but I know for me, if at this point in time, mind you, I'm 32 years old, right? So at this point in time, if someone comes to me with an idea or suggestion, things of that nature, I harken back to, who are you in my life, right?
Right.
What role do you play currently in my day-to-day life to give me this advice or give me this opinion or give me this suggestion that you think I should or shouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
And that is where I'm going to evaluate. Where it's like, do you play a role in my life? Are you involved in my life? Then if not, then I'm going to push it to the side.
Exactly.
Whereas somebody that's involved in my life, somebody that's been here for me, whether that's friend or family, I'm going to consider it because, no, you actually care. I can see that you actually care, right? So when it comes to your kids, it's the same way, where it's like, you got to be actively involved in their life. You got to be there for them. So when it comes to them making decisions for themselves, whether that's going to college or playing a sport, whatever it may be, you can have somewhat of an influence on that, hopefully positive influence that is, and go from there.
Yeah, man, I agree. Like my dad would always say, like, and something I actually said in front of him when I was kind of giving him a tribute to him at church or whatever, I'm like, my dad may be many things, silly, all of that, but I never been somewhere and he wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I love that part that you hit on about being active and being involved, because it's like, man, if you're going to have a kid, why would you not be involved? But it seemed like, to me, a lot of times what seemed like common sense is like, it's not common sense to a lot of people. It's like, why would I have a kid and not show up for him or her? Right. But that's the reality of a situation. Sometimes people get into situations that they thought they were ready for that they're really not. So I love the part about being involved, and just, I can resonate with that because my pops was and still is, always there for me, man, whenever I need some game. Or even sometimes I'm like, bro, I ain't even need to hear that. Like, but you look later down the line and you get in that situation, it's like, man, I'm glad my dad pulled me to the side, because what I thought was like minor is like, you see, when you become your own man and you on your own, it's really major to you. So, man, I love that part. And something else I want to ask you, like, as far as the book goes, like, what are some things that, as you're writing the book and as you figuring out how you want this book to go, what are some things that you felt like you didn't see in your life that help with the process of Imagine Dad that you want to implement in the book?
Man, that's a great question. What didn't I see in my life that I wanted to implement in the book? Man, my dad was as I said this, and I said this before. I said he was absent but involved.
Yeah.
So we only got to see him every other weekend, right? So it was only so much time we could spend with him.
Exactly.
And then when we did spend with him, he made sure that he did give us the nurturing that we needed, right? Me and my dad are cool to this day. We bowl together. We go to football games together. Like me and my brother made sure that we bought him season tickets to the game. Like we went to Lions games together, all that type of stuff. So we hang out a lot. Like that's, as a grown man, that's like a friend of mine. I could say like that. Like we might talk the ish just because, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the things I didn't have, I would just say more his time, right? I didn't have as much time with him as a young man, probably as I probably needed to at that particular point in time. When it comes to the book itself, I try to dive more into the qualities and characteristics of what someone, at least from my perspective when I wrote it, was, okay, I would want to see this in the dad. I would want to see these things in the dad. Or I really just kind of wrote it from the perspective of dads coming in all shapes and sizes. All dads are not the same. Like, for example, within the book, the kids start to go to different stations. So you have fun station, care station, hero station, leader station. And at these stations, where they're there, they learn about the different qualities, characteristics that each dad gets. So while like at the fun station, for example, one dad might get witty while another dad might get clumsy, because all people are not the same. We know this, right? Everybody's not the same. Everybody doesn't think the same. Everybody doesn't feel the same. But what's important is to understand that, hey, the dads are made all differently, but they still are involved. They still are active in your life. They still love you at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. And I like the part that you hit on about, all dads are different, and we need that because if everybody was the same, I don't think, kids would be able to have what you have. It's just like how my dad still says to this day, like even with me and my older brother being grown, like there's certain things I did for Chris, my older brother, that, I had to do differently for you because I know y'all two different individuals. So you need that balance. You need to be able to differentiate how you're going to move, like whether it's with your kids or like you as a father as a whole. Because again, I don't have kids, but there are some things as a child, like me and my older cousin, we were talking about this. She was like, I don't know why in the world, like as a child, my parents just had me up early for like no reason. Like, just make sure you like, and then like when she said that, I'm like, yeah, I really don't, other than us getting ready for school or me, being a grown man now, like getting ready for work.
Right.
But I mean, it's just those type of things that you just kind of weigh and look at, because it's some things that, God rest her soul, my mom did and my pops did that, I probably wouldn't do with my kids. Or it's some other things that, seeing what's going on in the world that I would probably bring over to my life as a father that they did for me, because I saw how much it helped me. So like, yeah, man, it's crazy, man. Like,
man, I will say this, man. Fatherhood is tough. It has its challenges. It's the hardest job that you will do that has little tangible award in terms of what you gain from it, in terms of in those particular moments. Like I don't necessarily get anything when I pay for my son's daycare or when I'm showing up for him to school, right? But it's the intangibles that matter the most in those environments, where it's like,
exactly,
as challenging as it is, the reward at the end of the day is seeing him good, seeing him smiling, seeing him happy, seeing him, have these different experiences and exposure to different things that I may have never had. Like those are the intangibles that you necessarily can't quantify, but they mean so much in terms of just the concept around fatherhood. I think personally, as a dad, man, if someone would have told me that you're gonna have to do all, you're gonna have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, for months at a time, when you first have a kid, you're gonna have to, still do that at even when he's 5 years old, you're still waking up in the middle of the night because he might have to go to the bathroom or something like that. I don't know. I can't tell you if I would have, actually wanted to have a child. I never, right. When I had my kid, I wasn't like, I want to have a kid. It just happened. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us, right? It just happened that way. Right. But man, it has taught me so much. Yeah. I cherish it so dearly because of the fact that it gave me purpose to where it's like, at the end of the day, my job as a man today is to make sure he's okay. Yeah. That's my number one job. I got other jobs and, other things that I do, but my number one job is to make sure he's all right.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love that, man. I just love like how the demeanor that you have and like the passion you speak with about like being a father and like it's okay to have flaws. It's okay to, because a lot of times people feel like in life in general, they just have to they set their life on a timeline. There's nothing wrong with that. Like you want to achieve goals. Like even you mentioned by 35, you want to be established in a certain way or you want to have certain things going for yourself. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think on the back end, also realizing like, man, even if I may, like you told me, even if you may fall short, there's still tomorrow. Like, if God gave you breath, you can go after it. At least you tried. At least you gave your best effort and you knew that, man, I did all I could with this. So, man, I just love the confidence, one, that you speak with, and also the, like, passion that you speak. Like, it's okay, man. Like, you learn the different things. Like, my dad said, parenting don't come with a rule book or no playbook. You just learn as you go. And if you have that father figure or your mother in your life and you learn different things from them, like, that's a plus right there. But, even then, it's trial and error. So,
It is, man. Like, if no one, you can't, like, it's a human, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, man, they got feelings, they got emotions, they're going to say certain things. They might say things that you don't necessarily agree with, right? To where you try your best to navigate that in the best way possible.
Right.
Because one day everything is great. Tomorrow, this might be a tantrum. You really don't know. And it's just best to try to navigate the waters as best as possible. And like you said, just every day, just give it effort. Like, then I kind of harkening back on the question you asked about like what you would want to see in like as a dad or even in the book necessarily is just the effort, right? In terms of giving effort, being there, whatever that may look like for that particular person, just provide it.
Yeah. I know some of y'all may have thought, we was gonna go into the women versus men type of thing. We don't do that here. We don't do that at the podcast, cool. Man. We cool on that. We'll let y'all do that somewhere else, man. Like JG said, give us a different take. If y'all want to talk about it, give us a different take. But we don't do that here. I'm not into we don't gotta do that. Alpha man, none of that. We promoting peace, positivity, and we promoting the book Imagine Dad, man. So with that being said, I do want to ask you a question. Is like, you being really cool with your dad, but also having mentors along the way. What is some good advice that either your dad or like a strong male figure in your life gave you as you were preparing for fatherhood?
Man, I remember when my son was first born. That first day, my dad came up to the hospital, and we just chopping it up, in the hallway and whatnot. He wanted to put me to the side to have a conversation with me. And I remember he told me two things. First thing was said, never hit your kids.
Right.
Second thing he said was just always be there.
Yeah.
So that's honestly probably the best advice. I mean, the most memorable advice for me at this particular moment in time that I've gotten from a father figure, like, well, my dad exactly. But yeah, that would be it.
For sure, man. And what is something that you feel like you would tell somebody? Would you tell, other than that, is something that you would tell a father, whether a young father, just a father in general? What is something that you would teach somebody or some game that you would give them?
Man, I hate to be repetitive, but it's really just about trying, bro. Like being there, like giving the effort. To say I try, I gave him my all, and that's really all you can do. Yeah. And that goes about with fatherhood as well. I mean, man, I know guys that are not involved with their kids' lives. Yeah. I don't necessarily speak to them no more because I just can't support that. Yeah. Right. I know guys that are partly involved with their kids' lives. I know guys that are really involved with their kids' lives. I know kind of guys on all sides of the coin or all sides of the spectrum, whatever the case may be. But for me, it's like I see it all. Even having the conversations, for example, I had family members that have, been complaining about, oh man, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. Like, not mind you, I'm a co-parent.
Yeah.
So when me and my child's mom, we separated before my child was here due to various reasons, right? However, it was been very important to me to go establish my rights, go establish everything I needed to get done so I could be involved with his life.
Exactly.
So man, I met with an attorney before he was here just to had a conversation about what does this look like? What do I need to do to make sure I'm doing everything right? And they gave me the game. They told me, whatever the case may be. And long story short, it was a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money. But it was necessary because it allowed me to have the legal rights over my son, physical rights over my son, and have a say-so in his life and being there. Yeah. So that was very important. So to kind of answer your question, I would just say, man, to be a broken record about it, just effort, being there.
Man. It's game, man. At the end of the day, whether it's repetitive or not, man, it's just game. So I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I aspire to have kids, later on in life or whatever. So I'm just soaking it up, man. So I appreciate you for that. But now, what we're about to do, I never tell my guests this part. We're about to go into like a rapid fire type of situation. I'm going to ask you some questions. You just answer them to the best of your ability.
Cool.
But before that, what I want to do, I'm big on giving people their flowers. So, man, I appreciate you for, one, stopping by the podcast, us being able to connect, which I hope, outside of this, we're able to connect more on some things, if it's all aligned. But I do appreciate you stopping by the podcast, just giving us game about being a dad and like the trial and error of fatherhood. And, it's okay to mess up, but don't give up,
That's
keep going.
True.
And, like you said, I don't think it was a broken record, but just being involved and staying there. So I appreciate that. And I just want to give you the opportunity to let the people know where they can find Imagine Dad.
Oh, man, thank you first and foremost for having me on, man. I appreciate the time, bro. And you can find Imagine Dad anywhere you can buy books at this current moment in time. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can find it on Goodreads or any of the book sites, bookshop.org. It's $12.99 on Amazon if you want to buy the paperback. $4.99 if you want to buy the ebook. The audiobook is coming soon. Sure. I got my other products, supplemental products I'm developing from the book. Here's a copy of it for the camera.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Imagine Dad, man, by me, yours truly, Aaron Spencer, available today. Go get that if you have a family member. Sure, if you're a dad, if you're a mom, go get it for your husband or your boyfriend, whomever that may be. But yeah, I think it's a great book with unique story, unique storyline that is, and good for the family.
Sure, man. Now we're going to get into the rapid fire question. So my first question, I got to ask this, man, just because, seeing what happened with the Super Bowl.
Right.
This was, I don't know if you heard the podcast called Club 520 with Jeff Teague.
No, I haven't. Well, no, I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, so he was saying, like, him and his homeboy was saying, like, after what Kendrick did to him, he can't come back from this. Like, Drake is still Drake is still Drake. He a great artist, but it's like, I don't think he gonna be received the same, or like he gonna, like, what do you think? Like,
I think he can come back. I think it's possible for him to come back and still have a bright as light as he probably did before. It's going to take a little bit of time because everybody's still on that Kendrick wave right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he just performed at the Super Bowl. He killed it at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think it'll just take maybe another year or two because he's entering that phase of his career because he's already kind of reached the climax. He's kind of entering that phase of his career. He's kind of coming down that hill a little bit.
Yeah.
Where he's going into that like Lil Wayne, that Jay-Z phase of I'm a great artist. I'm a legacy act. I got great music and great catalog.
Yeah.
But I'm not maybe the hottest in the world no more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a fact, man. I think he dropping something, him and Party Next Door dropping something tomorrow, actually. So I think that'll be something that people play over Valentine's Day. But yeah, man, I actually agree with that because, like, I'm like, Drake's still that guy, you know, he still got a, like you said, crazy catalog, but I'm just like, man, Kendrick did him. When you look at everything that happened, like, I'm like, dang, I thought Drake was gonna win, but I'm like, dang. And he normally win all of his bouts, but then Kendrick, you know, seeing the guys he went against, you know, no shade to them, like Kendrick on another level. He on that like Mount Rushmore, so it was kind of tough. If
you think about it, right, Kendrick did what every other artist did in terms of the Drake stimulus package.
Yeah,
but like Kendrick used it, he just used it differently.
Yeah,
whereas like Drake normally, like a Lil Baby or whomever, feature on the record, and the record go crazy, and now this artist is the next hottest thing, and that's how it normally goes when you get that Drake stimulus package.
Yeah.
But Kendrick, right? Kendrick decided to use Drake as a pawn in his chess game.
You're right.
Where he still uses stimulus package, because think about it, not like us, as big as the record is, it doesn't happen without Drake.
Right.
Right? It's not as impactful without Drake.
Exactly.
Even the records before that, Euphoria and the other records that he dropped,
exactly,
it's not as impactful. Nobody was necessarily, Kendrick is a big artist without Drake, but nobody was necessarily listening to Kendrick, looking for Kendrick until he started to diss Drake.
Exactly.
The record with Future, he dissed him on that. It's not the big three, it's the big me, right?
Right.
He's still using that Drake stimulus package. It's just using it differently.
Yeah, I ain't think too deep into that. That's a good take right there, man. Good take. Yeah, that's that's crazy though, because that is facts.
Yeah, man. So I don't know if Drake don't have that stimulus package no more, right? I don't know if the benefits is gonna be as well as they was before. He went from having, you know, Blue Cross Blue Shield to Medicaid.
Nah, man, he done now. If that's the case, if that's the case, he through. I don't know, man. He might be. Kendrick, that's crazy.
It's not gonna hit the same.
Yeah, because Kendrick, like you said, he flipped it. He did what, you know, everybody does, but he did it in a way where it was so creative, and it's like,
yeah, he used Drake to kind of push the narrative of black culture. Even if you saw it in the Super Bowl, where it's like, I'm using the spotlight that I now receive from this battle to bring to light the plight that I've always talked about in my music. Like Kendrick has always talked about black excellence, black culture. Like, we gonna be all right. You know, I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. So if you actually listen to his catalog, he's always had that. He's always talked about black culture, us being kings and queens, things of that nature. He just now has a bigger platform to do it. And the Super Bowl was like the pinnacle of that, right? Where now I have this platform, 135 million people are watching.
Right.
I'm going to get on here, be black, and do this black-ish, and make it blow.
Yeah, that's facts, man. My next question, I feel like I've been asking a lot of people this, probably because the playoffs getting closer.
Yep.
And I need my boy JT to go get another ring so y'all can stop talking. But it's all good. We're gonna get it done. Who do you think is gonna be in the NBA Finals this season?
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've watched one NBA game this year. I have not watched too much basketball at all, bro. Only because, I ain't gonna lie, I agree with the think pieces and the other podcasts out there. I think Steph Curry did something to the game, bro.
Yeah,
I honestly, because when you watch a basketball game, I tune in here and there. I might watch 10 minutes or so, but it's everybody chucking up threes, 7-footers chucking up threes. It don't matter who it is on the court no more. It ain't that is position. It's literally positionless now.
Yeah,
to where you're gonna have LeBron at the 5 and Luka at the 4 and whoever else in there, whatever the case may be. So, but if I had to like just randomly, guess, I would say the Luka Lakers or the Luka LeBron Lakers, however you want to say it, the Lakers. And then on the East, man, I don't know if nobody's going to beat Boston. I think Boston's still like the upper echelon. I mean, I would love to see Giannis and Dame do something. Like, that would be kind of dope. I think just to knock like somebody to give Boston a run for their money type of thing.
Yeah. What's crazy, I'm going to agree with you because JT got a ring. Of course, I want to get more. But
so you're a Boston fan?
I'm not gonna say I'm a Boston fan, but I'm a JT fan.
Bro. I've never heard nobody being a Jason Tatum fan ever, bro. And
that's crazy.
And that's crazy. And it's only because and this is no shot to him and nothing like that, but his game is not an exciting game.
Okay.
He don't have any flair in his game at all. Like, it's exciting to watch Ja Morant. It's exciting to watch Anthony Edwards. Some of these guys that throughout the course of the game, they're gonna give you a highlight.
Yeah.
JT don't have really none of that in his game on a day-to-day game, day-to-day basis, whatever the case may be. He might give you a 30, 10, and 10, but it's gonna be like a KD 30, 10, and 10, where it's like you don't even know he had 30 points.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the crazy part. I think that's why he gets so much hate. Not saying because obviously you're not hating on him, but like somebody was talking to me the other day because I posted him. I think he had like a game winner. No, this was after the game winner. It's like he had like 40 something points. 40, I think between 40 and 50 points. And he almost had like a triple double. And then I was like, man, y'all stop talking to JT. It's silent work. Then one of my friends was like, bro, he's terrible. He's not good. I'm like, he's a champion. And not to say that because you're a champion, that don't mean you like automatically just good every time.
Right.
But he's like, man, he inconsistent. I'm like, bro, the last 2 years, like his assist has went up. He's like making better decisions on the court. And I'm like, it's kind of like what you said. I'm like, because he not loud like Anthony Edwards, because he don't talk crazy like Ja, it's like, because again, what reason do you have to hate on JT? Because he been winning since he been in the league. Ever since he got drafted, he been in the thick of things. So like, you can't say he ain't been winning. He just came off a ring last year. Only thing he hasn't done yet, which I believe he's going to do at some point, I mean, SGA gonna win it this year, which should be his second MVP because he should have got it last year, but that's another story for another time. But I'm like, man, the man's been winning. The man's been putting up the numbers. They're the top, one of the top 3 seeds in the East and in the whole leagues. I'm like, guys, what more do you want from the man?
I mean, but like, okay, the Celtics are today's version of what the Spurs were.
For sure.
That's probably the best way to compare, where it's like Tim Duncan was great. Yeah. Nobody is going to ever debate or deny his greatness as a basketball player. Tim Duncan is probably top 3 power forward of all time, right? Yeah. If you really think about it. Might be number 1 to really you know, give him that credit. JT is kind of in that same ballpark where great player on a great team that no one wants to watch. Great player on a great team that no one actually wants to tune into to watch.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I'm hoping he go back to back because really, y'all thought y'all was sick of me last year on Instagram. Y'all really going to be sick. But what would you say are your top 3 favorite movies ever?
Top 3, I'm going to put Money Talks in there. I'm going to put Hunger Games in there. And I'll probably put what's the movie I'm thinking about right now in my mind? The movie where they all got roofied. What's that movie? What's the movie
when they got who?
Roofied. When the guy put the roofie in the drink and they couldn't remember the night before.
I'm not sure. I thought I was gonna know.
Oh man, what's that? It's on top of my head too, and I can't remember the name right now. But well, I'll say 16 Blocks. I can't remember the name of that movie.
I'll probably say for me, Avengers Endgame, just because of the whole cinematic experience, leading up to it, and then it was just crazy. I would probably say Creed 3. I like how Jonathan Majors was in that, and this, how they, highlighted his character.
I didn't watch Creed 3.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
It was dope, man. It was dope.
How do you feel about Jonathan Majors and the media around him right now?
It's funny. Somebody just asked me that last week. I feel like, man, until you really got the sources, but that's just Hollywood, man. You got paparazzi, you got people making all sorts of claims, but it's like, man, when you see this man is not, because he was on a phenomenal run, bro. Like he had, he played in the movie I first saw him in was the White Boy Rick movie. Then after that, he played in the Netflix movie, The Harder They Fall, which he did a really good job in that. And then he played Kang, and then he played Dame in Creed 3. So it's like, man, why y'all want to destroy this man's? Unfortunately, that's how Hollywood is, man. Like, they destroy your career when something happen or they get some wind of some news. I just hope he get his just due and he's able to get back, because I know they saying there's reports of him joining Marvel again. But my big thing on it is, like, until you got all the sources, don't just take away somebody's livelihood like that. Because even though he a celebrity, it's like at the same time, man, he worked all his life for this.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
What's your take? How you feel about him?
I feel like on a personal level, I feel like the relationship with him and Megan Good is it's two things. It could actually be a genuine relationship, but also it could be a stunt, a ploy,
power move,
power move to get him back in good graces necessarily. Because Megan Good is a well-known actress who's been, a darling necessarily in our community for years, and the case may be. So I feel like him and pairing with her could allow him to repair his reputation a bit. As far as the incident and the media around that necessarily, it's like I agree with you in terms of don't cancel them because until all the facts are out there, right? In terms of if the court of law or if we society, once we get that information from the actual justice system to say, okay, this man is innocent, he didn't do anything wrong, or whatever the case may be, that's when it's like, okay, well, let's decide how we move forward. Now, I think that, he just one, component of just a bad situation where, anytime we get in the spotlight for anything negative, it's like, cancel. Immediately cancel them. Whatever, he can come out to be clean and justified and innocent, but it don't matter at that point, right? The deed is done, deal's gone, all that type of stuff. Yeah,
man, I agree, man. I think so many people do that without knowing what's going on really behind the scenes. And a lot of people don't check the sources, man. Just like, oh, this is a blog, this got to be real because look who put it out, instead of just doing your due diligence and realizing. But a lot of people, they ain't going to take the time to do that, which is unfortunate. But
man, something that I've paid more attention to, I should say, as I've started to do media, promote my book and all those things, is, man, a lot of this stuff is paid anyway.
Facts.
Whether you do a podcast, not this podcast, Leon just happened to look out for the love, so I appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
But podcasts, different platforms, influencers, the awards that people get, for example, the Grammys, like all these things are paid. Like people pay for these awards, these accolades. People pay for these news, these media outlets to be seen. Like I remember a story years back, and it was about how TMZ was following Kanye around or Kim K around, things like that.
Yeah.
And then to come to find out that they pay him to come around, or you tell them your location. So it's all planned for the most part. It's paid, and it's kind of hard now to really believe what you see because of the fact that I know that because I've participated in it. To be honest, just get my book out there more to where, like, hey man, I have paid to play to some degree. So where it's like that's what now, but you see it, you now being on the other side of it, I should say, kind of, because this is art, right? And now I've pushed myself in the entertainment industry to some degree, whereas like the entertainment industry, you see that it's, again, pay to play. You can't necessarily look at everything as though for face value. I should say it like that. But it's for middle America. It's for the people that don't know that this is how the entertainment industry works, or like how Hollywood works, or how those things work, to where they just see the news. Oh man, he did this, cancel him, right? So, but they don't know that this news article have been somebody paid for this to be there, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, man, I agree. It's so wild, man. Like, even when you talked about Jonathan Majors, like, you almost question because you get more insight on things, or you know more about stuff. Like, dang, is this a power play, or do he really love this girl? And now it make you question every relationship that's in Hollywood. It's like, dang, bro, are you really with this woman because you love her? And it's like, man, if you could go up and cry tears, but you're an actor, so it makes sense. So
facts.
It's like,
exactly. You're an actual trained actor who can do, like, that's like Jamie Foxx, man. Have you seen his special on Netflix?
Yeah.
Bruh, amazing.
Yeah,
I felt like it was amazing. But for him to get it in and out of his breaks like that, where one moment he about to break down and cry, next moment he got you laughing. Oh my God, bro.
It's like, dang. And Jamie Foxx is somebody like I really look up to and respect because he can do multiple things.
Yeah,
like,
man, it's talented.
Yeah, man. So it's crazy out here. Last question. Who are your top 5 favorite rappers ever?
Top 5 favorite rappers ever. Lil Wayne, J. Cole, Chief Keef. I got 2 more.
Yeah.
Let me go. Those 3 for sure. And then I'm probably going to go. That's a great question, man. Top 5. Who would I put as the last 2 there? I might. Jay-Z's like an honorable mention. Like I'm not a huge Jay-Z fan.
Yeah.
But some of his songs just resonate with me so well that I can't not have them.
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, I'm gonna throw Jay-Z in there, and I would go. That's a great question, man. I'll probably go Drake. To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Drake got, man, like he just got songs that moments in time just sit well. Like Views, I feel like Views is classic, bro.
Yeah, facts.
Views is classic, and nothing gonna take that away. And then like, what's one of the latest albums? What the girl was on there?
Certified Lover.
Yeah, Certified Lover. Boy, he got hits on there too, man.
Yeah, facts.
He got hits. He got hits, man.
I'll say, not in any particular order, I would say Cole, Drake. Who was another rapper I really like? I like Roddy Ricch. I'm excited to see what he's gonna do this month.
Okay.
I got an album dropping. Drake, J. Cole, Roddy Ricch.
Them last 2 hard, man. I know.
Man.
Them last 2 be difficult.
I guess I'll put somebody in there. Well, I say of all time. So, man, that's tough.
Well, why you think on that? Let me say this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Jay-Z out of there, and I'm gonna throw in Kanye. I'm gonna put Kanye in there, even though Kanye can seem a little off his rocker, a little bit off his rocker nowadays. But man got classics.
Sheesh. I would put I'll put Lil Wayne in there too.
Okay.
My last one. Man, I feel like I know who I want to put in there. I'm just thinking, like, I may have listened to him a few days ago, but I'm gonna just put sheesh, that last one is always tough. I'm gonna put I would say Kendrick, but I listen to him, but I don't listen to him like super heavy.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Are you a boom bap type of guy?
Nah,
based on the list, I wouldn't say you boom bap type of guy.
I like people that like tell stories.
Yeah, me too. Storytelling.
Yeah. And I like if the beat is nice and all of that, but I like somebody taking you on a journey somewhere.
Yeah.
Wow, this is tough. That's all I got, y'all.
All right, that's cool.
That's all I got, cool, man.
He only got 4, man.
Yeah, man. I got 4. Drake, J. Cole, Roddy, and Lil Wayne, man. But before we get out of here, y'all know we cannot leave without a quote, man. My quote today is, do you want to get it done or do you want to get it right? A lot of times we go through life just trying to get stuff done instead of taking the time to get it right. Appreciate my guy Aaron for coming through. Make sure y'all cop Imagine Dad, and we'll see y'all same time, same place.
Peace.
Appreciate you, man.